Hey, it's David, a strong by Lee. I want to talk to you about a common situation you might find yourself in, like the way that many Americans, many people around the globe find themselves in. Probably more Americans than anyone else. Right now we're going through a global pandemic called COVID-19. It's been spurred on by this mysterious and enigmatic and potentially deadly virus called the coronavirus that supposedly originated out of China. The best way to control this, the best way to flatten the curve of this highly infectious, highly contagious disease that seems to spread without any symptoms is to practice social distancing, and in some cases shelter in place, where you're not going out unless it's only for essential needs. Social distancing, where you're keeping apart from people. The best way is to stay inside, stay indoors, stay away from other people, or at least stay away from new people. If you're mingling amongst people who you mingle with all the time, you can keep the contagion within your immediate circle. But for the most part, the safest, best way to do it is to stay inside your own home. Right now, the globe, the World Health Organization, the CDCs from around the world are recommending a quarantine period of 14 to 21 days. What do you do during that time period? You're stuck in your house. You're stuck in your house with food, with Netflix. So you can Netflix, chill, and fill your belly. The conundrum that many people are falling into, especially since this virus doesn't kill everybody it encounters. You have a lot of youngish people who are stuck indoors. What do we do when we're confronted with the temptation to eat everything in our house? Now remember, essential needs can include groceries. So people could go out to the grocery store, although they might have to wait in line to get food that they want. They might be able to get the Oreos and the Twix. What do people do when they're bored, scared, anxious, nervous, frightened, and they have all this delicious food in their house? If you're like most people, you'll eat it. And if you're like most people, you'll eat it and you'll gain weight. And then if you're like most people, you'll eat it, you'll gain weight, you'll survive, and then you'll feel guilty afterwards. And then, of course, if you're like most people, you'll buy it, you'll eat it, you'll gain weight, you'll survive, you'll feel guilty, and then you're going to try to lose that weight again through an exercise program or a diet. This is the big conundrum. Millions of people are experiencing this conundrum, regardless of if there is a viral outbreak or not. When it comes to how you make decisions, I think we're all affected primarily by two different things: our social environment and our physical environment. So the people we hang out with, our social environment, peer pressure, our friends, our family, our spouses, our partners, our colleagues, our bosses, and then of course our physical environment, what's actually available to us, how close, how convenient, how easy to access is the food. Is it in the pantry? Is it in the CVS across the street, like me? Is it halfway across town? How easy is it for you to get that food when that craving strikes? Do you pass by it at work? As creatures of convenience, of safety, and ease of access, I think the easier something is to access, the more likely we are to obtain it. If there's a particular food and we have a craving for it, we need to exercise a lot of willpower and discipline to say no when it's staring at us right in the face. It's kind of like that saying the Stoics say, when death stares us in the face, the only thing we can do is stare back. But for most people, we stare back and we eat it. We eat that food. And it's the rational, logical thing to say, no, I'm not going to eat that. The problem is, as human beings, although we consider ourselves rational beings, because we are the only creatures on the planet that can rationalize, that have a sense of our own existence, consciousness, and time to the degree that we do. There are some animals, the evidence shows, that have an awareness of their consciousness, like dolphins. We are not actually rational creatures. We are rationalizing creatures. We are creatures that can rationalize. A lot of times we make decisions emotionally, and when it comes to food, and we're trying to choose what to eat under duress, under stress, we're going to make that decision emotionally. And the problem here is our bodies evolutionarily have developed two different processes to make decisions, emotionally and rationally, and they're kind of mutually exclusive. They don't always have to communicate with each other. Just because You want to use logic doesn't always mean you're going to use logic to make a decision. A lot of times we make a decision emotionally first and then logically as a follow-up. We need to be able to flip that script. We need to be able to make decisions logically first and then emotionally. And of course, it's easier said than done. It's so easy to say, I'm not going to eat that because that's going to sabotage my progress. I lost 2 pounds this week. I'm going to lose 3 or 4. And if I eat this or go out, I'm not going to lose that weight. I am not going to give in. That's the logical thing to do. The problem is when you're stressed out, you had a hard day at work, or your existence is being threatened by a virus. What do you want to do? Oh, man, you're going to throw in the towel. Oh, man, what's the point? We're all going to die anyway. I'm just going to eat the Oreo. Then what happens? Chances are you're going to survive and you're going to be fatter at the end. So how do we learn how to use logic a little bit more than emotions? Well, I think the best way, although it's not easy, the simplest and best way is to pause and give yourself a little bit of time to think. And again, health and fitness, and I've said this time and time again, is not that serious. You don't have to get so emotionally wound up and worked up over an eating decision. If you eat an Oreo, so frickin' be it. You ate that Oreo, live up to it, take responsibility, and try to figure out a way to salvage and mitigate the damage. Pause. Give yourself a little bit of time to evaluate whether or not this is something that you want or that you need. First, identify if it's an emotional craving, which is a want, or if it's a physical need, which is hunger. Do you actually need the energy, or do you want the energy? Are you addicted to this particular food, or do you actually need it to perform because you're getting lightheaded and foggy due to a lack of nutrients and resources? I think you have to be able to delineate that first. Once you can give yourself a little bit of time, maybe 5 seconds, to ponder if this is something that you really want and it's going to contribute to your long-term goals, because you know that even though health and fitness isn't as important as you are making it out to be, it's still important because you still want to look, move, and feel good, then it's important. You want to ask yourself this question: do I want this or do I need this? Okay? I think that is the first step in trying to think logically and rationally. There is a whole slew of school of thought behind how to reconcile your rational and irrational beliefs. It's called Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy, REBT. It was pioneered by Albert Ellis, one of the founders or one of the pioneers of cognitive behavior therapy, along with Alan Beck. If you want to learn more about how to confront, evaluate, and start minimizing your irrational beliefs, then I would look into rational emotive behavior therapy. And one of the first things that they try to get you to do is to pause. Give your rational mind a little bit of time to catch up to your emotional mind, because we do think emotionally first, generally, especially when it comes to food, and especially when we're under emotional duress and pressure. So give yourself a little bit of time to pause. Give yourself a little bit of time to think before you make a decision, and see if that helps you. Count to 5 and see if you can switch your mind to the more rational track. Okay, this is David of Strong by Lee. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, shoot them over to me at david@strongbylee.com. I'm with all sorts of feedback. If there are any other topics you would like for me to talk about, please send them over to me so I can address them. I want to be able to provide more value to you and keep you listening. All right, until next time, be rational.